Hello everyone, my name is Adriana Manzolillo Sanseverino. I come from Universidade Federal Fluminense. I'm getting my doctorate degree in production engineering. Professor Carlos Francisco Simões Gomes is my advisor. I'm going to present our study entitled Proposal and Application of a New Multicriteria Hybrid Model, ELECTRE MoR, a contribution with the Brazilian Navy in the acquisition of speedboats to combat COVID-19. This is our outline. We're going to follow these topics. First, introduction. After, a brief look at the ELECTRE methods. We are proposing a new ELECTRE method that we call ELECTRE MoR. We are going to show its application and results. Finally, we are presenting our conclusions. Introduction. Considering the COVID-19 pandemic and the critical situation of the health system in the state of Amazonas, Brazil, considering the humanitarian assistance provided by the armed force in isolated regions, considering that Brazilian Navy needs to acquire new speedboats to carry out first aid, evacuate patients from the riverside regions of the Amazon, transfer patients between hospitals, and transport basic supplies like water, food, hygiene, and protective materials to the riverside populations. We propose a new ELECTRE multi-criteria sorting method with ordinal aid input and multiple decision makers that we call ELECTRE MoR. Table 1 shows the ELECTRE methods found in the literature. It also shows their properties by type of problem, type of criterion, and aid. The ELECTRE 1 and ELECTRE 1S methods are used to make choice. The ELECTRE 2, ELECTRE 3, ELECTRE GD, ELECTRE 4, and ELECTRE 4H methods are applied to ranking problems. The ELECTRE 3, 3B, 3C, 3NB, 3NC, 3RC, ME, ELECTRE interclass, and ELECTRE sort methods are applied for sorting. The ELECTRE JKMS and hierarchical ELECTRE JKMS methods are applied to choice or ranking problems. The ELECTRE CBR is a hybrid model that uses properties of ELECTRE to solve data mining problems. The ELECTRE 1 and ELECTRE 2 methods use the true criterion to establish the outrank relations, while the others would pseudo criterion. The ELECTRE 4 and ELECTRE 4H methods do not use 8 for criteria. Figure 1 shows a flowchart that distributes the ELECTRE methods according to their properties. As you can see, all the ELECTRE methods are cardinal and non-compensatory. We are proposing the ELECTRE MoR method. It's a new multi-criteria sorting method with ordinal aid input that includes multiple decision makers and distribute the alternatives into predefined categories. Given a set of alternatives, a set of criteria, and a set of decision makers who express their preference, the ELECTRE MoR method transforms ordinal preference in cardinal values and aggregates the decision-make preference. In the procedure for constructing the outrank relations, the ELECTRE MoR uses an adaptation of the simple aggregation of preference expressed by ordinal vectors group in decision-making, sub pivot M, to generate aids. This slide shows how the ELECTRE MoR method establishes preference. Considering this notation for general elements, criteria, and the relationship is as important as, is less important than, is much less important than, is more important than, and is much more important than, the relationship is associated to a scale. Thus, decision maker express their preference, and this procedure produces a matrix. This scale enables the transformation of the matrix into a column vector. K is the number of decision makers, and this is the standardization procedure that we have adopted. From the study of the ELECTRE methods, we have developed the indices of concordance, discordance, and credibility. We have to satisfy these conditions. For the concordance index, P greater than Q, and for the discordant index, V greater than P. This slide shows the credibility index and the cutting level. The distribution of alternatives into predefined category is carried out through two procedures. Optimist, it consists of comparing the alternative A successively to the alternative B from the last profile. And pessimist, it consists of comparing the alternative A successively to the alternative B starting from the first profile, which is the most demanding classification. We applied the ELECTRE MOr method to classify the speedboats that can be used in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in the Amazon. The decision makers are 3 officers of the Brazilian Navy. Table 3 shows the alternatives and criteria. The alternatives are 8 speedboats, CB-98, Guardian 25, DGS, Patrol Boat Light, Riverine Assault Craft, Special Operations Craft Riverine, Mini Armored Troop Carriers, and LPR. And there are 7 criteria: length, maximum speed, cruising speed, autonomy, displacement, number of patients, and draft. Figure 2 also shows the alternatives and criteria and highlights some features of these speedboats. The shorter the length, the better the maneuvering the speedboats in the riverside regions. The highest possible speed and the maximum performance must be obtained. Autonomy is related to the need for refueling. Then, the greater the autonomy, the better. Displacement 8 is the mass of water displaced by itself when the vessel floats. Draft is the distance between the lowest point of the keel of a vessel in relation to the waterline. This slide brings table 4. We have 8 for each criterion. We have 3 class limits because we defined 4 classes. So we have B1, B2, and B3 for each criterion. We also have strong preference, weak preference, and veto for each decision maker. Let's talk about the results of our application. Table 5 shows the distribution of alternatives into predefined classes considering the cutting level 0.7. As we can see, the alternatives CB-98, Guardian 25, and Riverine Assault Craft were distributed into Class A, considering both procedures, pessimist and optimist. We decided to increase the cutting level to verify the distribution of alternatives. Table 6 shows this distribution, increasing the cutting level to 0.8, 0.9, and 0.95. As we can see, the increase in the cutting level makes the analysis more demanding. So, the most suitable military speedboat is the Guardian 25. Finally, we have the conclusions of our study. The ELECTRE MOr method was applied to obtain the most suitable set of alternatives to be used in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in the Amazon. The CB-98, Guardian 25 and Riverina Saltcraft speedboats. The method allows a sensitivity analysis with the increase of the cutting level. In this case, the results showed only one alternative as the most suitable, the Guardian 25 speedboat. The ELECTRE MOr method proved to be efficient for the proposed analysis. It allowed the ordinal weighting input involve several decision makers. It facilitates the elicitation of criteria aids, preference thresholds, veto and limits of predefined classes. The method can be used to solve real problems of the most diverse types, tactical, operational, and strategic, and thus it is a very useful method focused on contributing to high-level decision-making. We suggest applying the method in other sectors, public or private. Thanks for your attention.